welcome to today's webinar, Marketing and Technology Strategies Transforming Travel. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. We've taken a screenshot of an example of the attendee interface. You should see something that looks like this on your own computer desktop in the upper right corner. When you join today's webinar, you selected to join either by phone call or computer audio. If for any reason you need to change your selection, you can do so by accessing your audio pane in your control panel. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenters by typing your questions into the questions pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. I would now like to introduce our presenters for today's webinar. Sergio Restrepo, VP of Global Digital Marketing Services at Lionbridge. Danica Wong, Direct and Email Marketing Manager at Hawaiian Airlines. And Ted Wem, VP of Vertical Industry Solutions at Oracle Marketing Solution. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Sergio.
Excellent. Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending the webinar. So today we're going to talk a little bit about distraction, right? The web has become this endless chatter, lots of noise out there. Attention is now the currency. So how are companies cutting through all this noise and being able to resonate with strategic, creative, useful, and overall fast messages to win customers' trust and overall also their attention? So we could say, in a way, we could design the customer journey. Obviously, there's many ways to design the customer journey. And an overly simplistic way of viewing the customer journey would be in micro moments, to break them down into 4 categories relevant to the travel industry. And at a strategic level, we must find a way to achieve this stickiness at these 4 levels, right? I want to get away moments, the time to make a plan moments, let's book it moments, can't wait to explore moments, right? So how can we address for stickiness? How can we plan? So basically, we recommend doing it in 4 ways. One is to be there. We'll talk a little bit more about it. Be creative and culturally fit, be fast, be useful, right? How can we do this, right? This can be relatively easy to achieve if you are targeting or if you're just addressing one market or language, but a true challenge comes at scale, talking about many regions, many languages, many cultures, obviously many screens, meaning many different devices. So let's quickly break down this into what we're seeing at a global level. One, being there, it's a little bit of a number game. So if you talk about 10.4 references a little bit of the Google terminology of the 0 moment of truth. It means 10.4 sources of information before making an informed decision. So our customers are touching many different points of information in the paid, owned, earned, and social ecosystem before actually deciding to go with us. As brands, you no longer control the conversation. I think we're all aware of that. So you must plan ahead, understand very well where the customer journey of your buyer persona, and make all the strategic partnerships you can to be in your buyer persona's ecosystem, meaning again the paid, owned, earned, and social ecosystem, right? This will involve designing these partnerships at a strategic level on all those key locations, and all those key locations with great content, right, in order to be the most relevant for your users. And the challenge there is going to be being again fresh on all these different locations. So keep in mind 10.4 sources of information before making an actual informed decision. Where are you going to be there for your customers? Being fast is every day more relevant. So the technology stack required to run your digital ecosystem needs to be revamped and understood. Website upload is obviously a nice example, a typical example, but later we're going to talk about a little bit about email. Think about all that, the email promotions you need to get out there for every region, every market, every language, every device. You need to be fast. So think about how speedy customer service could be for replies in Facebook in all those different languages. So the big question for you is: are you prepared for fast speed and scale? Right? Are you planning for it? Being creative and culturally fit is also very important. In the travel industry, probably more than other industry, being precise in language is key. We all had that situation when we're probably lost in translation. We all know words don't mean the same from place to place, but words, even if they have a similar meaning, don't elevate the level of excitement and the emotions that were initially intended by the creative minds who created those messages. So we really need to work with linguistic experts who go far and beyond plain translation. So we have a term for that. We call it transcreation. Transcreation basically touches that fine layer of creativity to be able to connect at the level of emotions and cultural relevancy. There's a whole conversation around transcreation, which we could touch at another webinar, but keep in mind, being culturally fit is key in the travel industry. Being useful, this could be obvious, right? Anytime, any region, any device, your own content and user experience strategy needs to be truly useful. As we know, a frustrated customer is a click away from another website, from another video, from another piece of content. So we need to make sure we put a lot of energy into creating the very best possible pieces of content out there, right? Making sure they work properly on all the devices, right? And then they're able to be run on any region at any time. Okay. So creating a content reuse strategy is key for global environments. We have previously mentioned we really need to put energy into creating those amazing pieces of content. It's going to be key. We have the technology and internal culture to reuse great content and reach customers in a more personalized fashion. The experience needs to move slowly into a single customer view with more real conversations happening between our companies and the customers, right? What we've seen is a lot of long tail content being produced by companies out there. So that's not bad, but also the big focus has to happen at a global scale in terms of creating those big chunks of amazing piece of content that people want to consume and can be reused by all your different affiliates at a regional or at a global scale. So it's all types of content. Don't just translate your text. Make sure your videos have a proper voiceover, subtitles, motion graphics. Podcasts are even making a huge comeback, or audio in general is making a huge comeback. So it's no longer only about words, right? Words in the digital space are very relevant at a SEO level. So are images, and so is video nowadays, right? So make sure all those pieces of content are compatible with your language strategy at an internationalization stage. So all content needs to be suited for local culture, as we said before. So by saying this, it's again not only about translation, it's also about making sure all the images are suited for local use. Make sure all those images are let's say in a way localized. Okay. So there is no way, no sustainable way that we can keep a desktop website and its mobile counterparts up to date without proper technology CMS. Obviously, I'm talking about big scale. If you're a small company targeting just one probably locale, it can be done, but at scale, what we've seen, it's not feasible, right? You're burned through your talent, or you'll make mistakes. So you need to have the technology to approach personalization and that single customer view to have those more personal conversations. So just some food for thought there. But how are you making sure all your different languages instances are up to date with really amazing content, right? That's the big question there. How can you have your website in all those languages, with all those images and all those videos and great content updated quickly, right? So that's some food for thought there, but you need to always be thinking in the long goal of personalization and single customer view, and you need a technology stack, and that's a little bit of why our big sponsorship and partnership with Oracle. So this is just a quick stat. You need to find a way in which language is at the core of your internationalization or globalization stages. In a recent service, we are fully knowledgeable that 9 out of 10 people would prefer a website that is on their local language. So this is very relevant at a global phase. So we're not longer talking about the most basic languages, meaning English or Spanish for the US, right? We're talking about really being relevant in Japan, in Philippines, right? In Singapore. In all those markets, you need to be relevant at a local level. When you go global, 9 out of 10 would prefer the page to be in their local language. And so the idea is also with this webinar to show you how our brands targeting this situation is precisely on the travel industry. How is it happening? So I want to shift it over to Danny from Hawaiian Airlines to show us a little bit on how it's happening on the day-to-day when the rubber hits the ground, so to say, right? So hi, Danny, and take it from here.
Aloha and good morning, everyone. As I get started with sharing a little bit about the marketing that we do here at Hawaiian Airlines, I did want to give you a quick background of who we are and what we do. And so Hawaiian Airlines is a destination carrier for Hawaii. We primarily serve leisure travelers, and therefore the essence of our brand and really what we strive to deliver is an authentic Hawaiian experience. We embrace the values that are unique to Hawaiian culture, and that really centers around hospitality. And so everyone, whether it's frontline staff or back office staff, we all work to deliver an authentic Hawaiian hospitality experience in every aspect of our guests' journey. And so that means our guests will experience Hawaii before they physically arrive. The sights, the sounds, the tastes, everything about our onboard experience really helps to transport that guest so they're on vacation as soon as they step on board our aircraft. It is also very important for us that our customer communications as well as our marketing efforts all help to enhance this brand experience. So to give you an idea of the markets that we are currently serving, we are bringing travelers in from North America, from Asia, Australia, New Zealand, all over to Hawaii. And for those of you who may not be familiar, this graphic here kind of shows you the main 8 islands that make up the Hawaiian island chain. Once in Hawaii, our travelers have the opportunity to jump on our inner island service, which allows for both visitors and our residents alike to really experience the uniqueness that each island has to offer. And so now that we talked about where all of our guests are coming from, want to just cover what it takes for us to serve these markets. Now, we see value in communicating with our guests in their own language, and so that means we will maintain 7 websites, 229 email templates, that's in 5 different languages. We do have 10 social media channels in 4 languages, and you can see that at the bottom here. You know, several different Facebook, Twitter accounts, 2 Instagram accounts, and then in China, Weibo and WeChat. So definitely it's a heavy lift on the social media side. And then we also have digital banner ads in multiple markets. The tools that we use in terms of creating and distributing content to all of our marketing partners, we first off start off with our brand style guide. It's our written visual language. It does specifically call out the importance of cultural differences in each of the markets. For example, in Japan, it's really important for us to maintain a high level of politeness and formality. But when you move over to a market like Australia and New Zealand, overly polite language can really come across as stuffy. And so definitely the style guide is laying the foundation for you to work with that. Commonly used names and phrases are also included in the style guide. That's really ensures that all the teams that are translating either products or services or even Hawaiian phrases are doing so in a consistent manner. We also drop all of our brand approved images into an asset management tool, and you see a visual of that on the left side of your screen. It's a web-based tool that really allows for users to dig in and find the assets they need. Usage of the tool is monitored so we can make sure that the right staff is getting in there and using and what they are using. In addition to brand approved assets, all of our agency and internal partners will drop any creative that's been done or campaigns that are being worked on, drop those into the tool as well, and then that helps spark inspiration for other teams and really help everyone determine the optimal way to utilize this brand style guide. Specific to email, our Oracle creative team helped us to develop a style guide specific for email, as well as a modular template library. And you can see the email modular graphic here on the screen. But the style guide ensures that we maintain consistency across the email program. For example, the way dates and currencies are displayed, we do have some uniqueness per market, and so we account for that in the style guide. And then the modular template library really enables us to easily drop content into an email template, but accounting for differences in market. We can remove content that may not resonate in some markets, and really tailor the email as we need to by market. And finally, we try to make content creation as collaborative as we can. You know, I'm sure you can imagine with destination content, images of Hawaii are relatively easy to share across markets, but the copy that goes with the image may need extra thought and care. In-market teams have really great insights to share with us about what resonates with their customers and what their customers are interested in. And so for us, it's always helpful to stay in close contact with them. I wanted to give you a quick example of some of this from our Japan market. You have here a couple of different posts that we've done. The first one on the left is a Facebook post that we ran in our Australia market promoting our new lie flat service. And so you can see the model used here, very different from the model all the way on the right where the lie flat service is featured. And that was brand comes in and as they take shots for our products, really tailors the models per market. While it's called a premium cabin, Japan travelers are not most familiar with that term, premium cabin. And so when we tailor the messaging for Japan, we're calling it business class instead. So you can see that the team has flexibility to not just take a straight post and translate it, but really tailor the message as they see fit. With the rainbow image that you see on the screen, both samples here are from our Instagram channel. The one on the left talked about Hawaii being commonly known as a rainbow state. Went really well with the graphic, with the image there. But when we moved that image over to the Japan Instagram channel, the team decided to tailor the message a different way. They only kept the sentiment about hashtag Aloha Friday in there. They prefer to talk more about the experience. So if you're coming to Hawaii, would you rather go shopping and sightseeing, or do you want to sit and listen to the sound of the waves by the beach? And so allowing the in-market teams to kind of help us tailor those messages really helps us to find engaging content for our social media channels. Taking a look at more of a cross-channel example, you can see how the different marketing teams here work together to launch a campaign. So we did actually just launch our Instagram channel in Japan maybe 2.5 weeks ago. And so starting on the right side of the screen here, social team worked with the brand assets that we have out of the asset library. They developed copy with our in-market team and our agency's help. And then to the middle graphic, the email team comes in, picks up the assets and copy that's provided and drops it into our modular template for email. And then finally, on the left-hand side, the web team is, in the loop during the project as well, so that the message can be visible on the home page in time for the email to launch. And so timing of this type of work really does require coordination. Really want to make sure that our prospective guests in this market have a consistent message as they come through all of our different touch points. Finally, for today, what I wanted to share is just 3 main keys for our success. Our web team, first off, really works hard to continuously update landing pages for our use in email, digital, and social, and that way all these channel marketers have the ability to push out content as they need to and when they need to. Definitely in our industry, it helps to be able to move quickly and deploy when you need to deploy. And so the web team being the stable, always-on channel for us is helpful. And then also, whenever new destination content is refreshed on the website, and they go through this exercise, on a monthly, quarterly basis, they're adding new content to the site, but their standard of practice is to always translate that content to make sure that it is available on every language version of our website. One of the other keys to success really centers around the use of modular templates for email. It really helps us with the amount of emails that we send to have this modular template library. It makes production efficient. We can choose when we want to just have a straightforward translation, maybe a product mention sometimes can just be a straightforward translation, or we can go ahead and tailor specific modules just for one market. And so the modular template really helps us to move quickly there. And finally, the point I wanted to make was around the social team, really staying connected with our in-market teams, learning about the international markets that we serve, and utilizing the data about the content that we're pushing out to make sure that we're mindful of what is resonating with our audience in those markets, and making sure that we replicate that on an ongoing basis to ensure successful content and engage fans for our brand. That's everything I had to share today. Just wanted to say mahalo again for the opportunity to talk to everyone. And now I am going to hand it over to Ted.
Hello, everyone, and this is Ted Wham. I want to say thank you for joining us and also express my appreciation to Sergio and Danny for their setup here for what we're doing today. We had the pleasure of having both Lionbridge and Hawaiian Airlines join us at the travel practicum that we put together at the Oracle Marketing Cloud experience that we had in Las Vegas earlier this year. And Danny once again reaffirmed why she was such a great attendee at that, given the complexity and very nice things that they're doing for us. So let's move forward here now, and I want to talk about kind of the framework for what we're doing. So Sergio laid out how travel is got a number of key issues that have to be faced, and how you have to build a system that's going to be able to allow you to scale to that. Danny gave some really excellent examples of how they're using that multi-language, multi-channel marketing kind of technique within their airline environment. And now I'm going to talk about how we actually enable that type of expectation from our clients on the Oracle Marketing Cloud side, which is the technology that is used by Hawaiian Airlines for the production of all of their email marketing. So it's going to start with a model that we're trying to say that we're moving the content for emails into, as Danny said, a modular format, but that content includes not just the images and the specific offer modules, such as a 3 across versus a 2 across, but it actually includes the words that are used whenever you have words within the email message itself, and it's really anywhere across the board. So we have a hypothetical airline that we've created here called Oracle Air, and we put in a English language version because the home market for this particular brand is in the United States. So you can see the country code is the US, the language code is English as spoken in the US, so it's spoken and written in the US, different spelling than you would have in the UK or Singapore, for instance. And it's got all the elements within there. After you get that base template done, you have your creative team provide a tight comp for that. And a tight comp is going to show how copy would appear within the message. It would probably have an example of that copy, but it doesn't have to be the copy you use from week to week. You're basically creating a template where you're going to reuse that template over and over again, but you would curate its content from one issue to the next. So once creative has done, the next thing you're going to ask them to do is to identify all of the variable text content within the message, which is highlighted in green here. So if we wanted to take this template and repurpose it so that it could be used in a completely different market with different languages, all of the wording that we would have to have has to fit within those green areas. And within a template itself, this is primarily within a table cell, an HTML table cell. And so you have to make certain that you've got the locations identified, you name each of those locations, and then you additionally have to be able to pour in the content so that what you send to somebody who's living in the United States in the English version is different than what you would send to somebody perhaps in Germany speaking German. So let's look at then how that works. We've got all of those different color-coded areas within the message itself, and we're going to now create a actual table that has the fields for that actually in the place. So about halfway down, you can see that we have a country code. There's a language code. Those two fields are key to assembling all of the content. And it's important because in some countries, such as Switzerland or in Belgium, you can have individuals speaking different languages as their own preferred language. And so country code alone is not enough for that. Furthermore, even the same language can be different amongst countries. And the example, of course, is British English versus US English. So the first two fields are your keys that allow you to put everything together. And then the fields that continue and that scroll well to the right, which we won't be looking at today, are actually all the names of the fields that are within the message itself. And so once you've got this done, you actually enter into here your content as it will appear in your base language version. So your country code and your language code are your keys. They don't actually show up within the message, but everything else that's to the right of that for your pre-header, your tab 1, tab 2, etc., are all of the actual words as they would appear in that template. And so let's pull up that top portion of that template, and you can see how all of these pieces actually just pour in on a specific field. Now the template obviously goes well below this point, and that's why the fields go well to the right. So you end up with a very wide table, but for the US English US language variant, you have one row. And once you've got that within here, you are ready to rock and roll. So once you've got the base language done, then the process of expanding that to a second, third, fourth, fifth language is pretty straightforward. You basically have an additional row for each combination of all of those language variants that you have. Now, the translation and the transcreation work itself is a very difficult challenge. That's what Lionbridge does, and that's their real value add that they offer in this whole process, and I don't want to make light of that at all. But the integration which is being created here is allowing for that transcreation effort to be poured directly into the Oracle Marketing Cloud responsive system so that you can then scale your production very easily. So let's take a look at how this actually works in process. So using the same template, you can see that we have the French language version right here. We are using the country code of FR and the language code of lowercase fr to indicate French language as spoken in the country of French. The template actually is smart enough that not only does it pour in the language, as you see right there, but it actually even modifies the number and currency and date formats so that, for instance, on that price, which is in the second arrow down below, it is 212 space euro symbol, because that's the appropriate way to write a currency value in the country of France. Similarly, if we look over to Russia, we've got a completely different character set. We've got some words that are quite long, but it still works in the same fundamental process. It's just a different row within the database. Again, number formats are consistent to the language and the location where somebody is. And then finally, for shucks and giggles, we've got a version in here for mainland China, where we're using simplified Chinese, and we're pulling that information in, again, formatting the numbers appropriately. So you can see that if you are a business that's got 3 languages or 30 languages, you're still working with only one template. You're having content that is appropriate, and you're doing it without actually killing your production staff. You have a system that you can automate and run pretty efficiently, and adding a new language is not something that causes great concern in your business. Instead, it's something that you're prepared to do and scale as you need to. So did want to point out a couple of gotchas to be aware of as you're doing any type of translation and transcreation work. There's 3 ones that we would point out to you. So the first one is some words can get very, very long in an unexpected manner. German is noteworthy for taking foreign words and just plugging them together. And so the first example there is insurance companies providing legal protection, which in English is 5 words, but it's one very, very long word in German. And so if you're going to pour that into a template, you have to be aware on how your line wrapping is going to work, and that may require really thinking and planning that through. Second one is that different languages take a different amount of space or different number of words to really convey the same thought. So the classic typesetter's quote of the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog takes a certain amount of horizontal space in English, but you can see that for Greek, it is a substantially longer version. And then the bottom language there is Malayalam, which is spoken by over 30 million people in India. And if India was a market of yours, you very possibly would want to be able to market in that language. And so you have to be able to support much greater space, almost twice as much in this example. And then finally, be aware that you have different presentations for numbers, currency symbols, the location of those currency symbols on the left, right, whether there's a space in between, and then all of those commas and periods between dates, even day formats. So you want to make certain that whatever technology you're using can take a data field that has an unformatted numeric value and be able to translate that into the appropriate format in a manner that is transparent to you simply by interrogating the country code and the language code. You don't want to have to do that as a manual effort, so that if you've got 7 languages that you're translating a dollar value or a currency value 7 times in a manual process. You want the system to be smart enough to do that for you. So in summary, we would really look to support the viewpoint that creating content in the native language of your readers is going to make your content easier to understand, and therefore people who can understand your content are more likely to actually interact with it and make the transactions that make profit for your business. The Lionbridge Oracle Marketing Cloud App Cloud integration is a system that is designed to really help a business such as your own make that type of transition from single language marketing to multi-language marketing as effortless as possible, so that when you go from 1 language to, let's say, 4, you are not quadrupling your work effort on a production standpoint, but instead you're scaling it at a relatively small level. And indeed, if you need to go from 4 languages to 8 in the future, that's something which is possible for you to do without losing your mind. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Lori for handling of any questions that may have come in. We hope that you do have some questions and that we were able to help you out in that way. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Ted. We're now going to begin answering the questions submitted during today's presentation. As a reminder, you can still submit questions through the questions pane of your attendee control panel. The first question is, could you go back to the 10.4 slide? Could you articulate more on the decision-making process? Let me go back to that slide. And Sergio, I think that's you.
Okay. So basically the 10.4 number is not a proprietary of a Lionbridge research. It's basically coming through some different research. One of them could be the Google Insights, right, around the 0 moment of truth. And every industry has a number, right, of touch points that it takes to make a decision. The travel industry obviously is one of the most competitive industries in the world. So you definitely want to be on one of those touch points that your consumer is reaching out to make those decisions. So one of the important aspects is that all those touch points are not all digital. They're all not web pages or blogs or comparison sites. They're your friends. There are people who have traveled before. They're offline or traditional media outlets as well, right? So 10.4 sources encompasses the whole of the industry. So that's why it's so relevant to be in fully understanding of how's, let's say, your buyer persona reaching out, right? What's that consumer journey mapping? So you're able to be there, right? Or try your best to be there. So one point that is very important to clear out is that they're not all online sources or all digital sources. They encompass friends, family, offline media, right? And digital media as well. So that's the huge challenge companies are facing.
And I would weigh in on that also. There's some market research that was published by Expedia Inc. that indicated that across the ecosystem of all companies, an average leisure traveler in the United States who is looking to purchase flights will make 40 distinct searches from their first dip in the water until the time that they actually make a purchase. And that probably fits fairly close within that 10.4 because some individual search sessions very commonly have more than one search in that session.
Mm-hmm. Yes, excellent. And if you go back to the importance of the reuse of content and being sure that all the alignment of your content is there, just for example, as Danny was showing on her content reuse strategy, if you checked out the backgrounds of their strategy, their brand book. They're all aligned throughout the website, their display banner ads, their social media, and they should also be aligned with third-party sites. So all that is what basically we need to try to assimilate and strategize for. So that's why technology and making sure you have a content strategy in place with the proper technology in place, such as an asset management system, is so important.
All right, well, thank you both. Our next question is, this is for Danica, to Danica. So how large is your digital marketing team?
That's a great question. Hawaiian Airlines, in terms of marketing, is very, very lean. We have a staff of 3 that take care of digital advertising as well as traditional advertising. And then on the email side, we have a team of 5, really making sure everything runs well. And so, you know, in addition to trying to manage the actual channel itself, to have to add in the nuances of everything that's happening within different markets, I think the job can become rather full. But we do have really great partners that we engage with. We have agencies specific by market that we can leverage expertise. And then on the email side, we definitely have Oracle supporting us with all of the email efforts going on. And so it's a combination of leveraging the team of 3 on the digital advertising side to make sure things are running, picking up your expertise from your agency, and then also keying in on what the sales staff in those markets can help you, talk through and strategize. So definitely we make it work.
All right, excellent, thank you. Our next question is, how would you suggest we start working on our intelligent content strategy?
Is that targeted to someone in particular?
It isn't. So whoever feels that they want to answer that, feel free to.
I'll add my 2 cents to that. Probably one piece is the importance of the technology stack. Understanding how are you going to centralize assets to make sure they're used in a standardized fashion, and you can start getting the conversation from there. I don't know, Danny, based on your experience, hands-on experience, what have you seen?
You know, for us, I think it really was the acknowledgement that we have a lot of content creators that are separate, in separate departments. You add in CorpCom as a content creator, and now you have all these different activities going on. And so we've made a conscious effort to kind of, acknowledge who in the business is creating content. How do you loop those people all together in a recurring meeting fashion where, the ideas and the generation of ideas and campaigns can be shared, and then we can start leveraging content creation across the different channels. And so for us, it was, starting with that personnel part and really trying to pull everyone together to have conversations around what's happening, what are people working on, and then taking it from there.
Exactly. I've seen something going on top of that that's very relevant to what we've seen globally. Usually, market leaders are used to using content that is pushed from headquarters, probably. And when you have a content strategy or a content reuse strategy in place, great content starts to flow from everywhere, right? So once you embed it into the culture of your teams, to really reuse the best pieces of content, they could be coming from anywhere in your organization. So it's not just top down, but it's really in a hub and spoke model, everybody communicating with themselves. So I've seen that also happening, Danny.
And I would weigh in and say that, there's hardly a company out there that doesn't have a website out there today. And to be able to build the website, there has to be a process for developing a content strategy and a structure in what's known as a taxonomy underneath that identifies all the different pieces and the parent-child relationships between those. The group within a creative and website development team that oftentimes is responsible for that is known as user experience, or UX. And so find that person who's working on that today and buy them lunch and sit and talk to them about what they're doing today, what's worked well, what hasn't worked well, and what systems they have that you can leverage and tie directly into. To the degree to which you can use pre-existing systems as opposed to building your own island, I think you'll be miles ahead, as you can see in Danny's system, where a lot of their content is coming directly off of a centralized CMS as opposed to one that they built for their department only.
All right, excellent, thank you. We have another question that's come in. While Lionbridge has this integration, do other language vendors have this as well? Example, translations.com.
I think that would probably be a question for me at Oracle Marketing Cloud. Our position is that we have an open app cloud structure where any third-party company can develop an integration and make that work with us. It goes through a certification process to make certain that it works and that the results are satisfactory for both. So there's nothing preventing a third-party company such as languages.com from creating that type of an integration. To my knowledge, Lionbridge is the first one who has actually done that and is doing it on a systematized way. So while it is possible for other companies to do it, I do not know of any that are.
All right, excellent. We have another question. How much of Hawaiian Airlines product experience, i.e. in-flight communications, is available in all of the languages that marketing targets? And do your same partners who are localizing your marketing handle the localization of the full product experience?
Excellent question. So we have, again, I think I mentioned 229 email templates. Actually, when we recently took inventory of everything we have, we might be missing some of our transactional emails, missing some languages. So definitely there's acknowledgement that, there's value in communicating with our guests in their language, but actually going through the system to clean things up and make sure that every touch point is in their language is something we're currently working on. I think for us, definitely we partner with Lionbridge in terms of just getting through the mass size of our program when we do have translation needs for email. But then also once that initial translation is done, we will reach out to our in-market teams to have them, take a pass at the content and sign off that, yes, they agree that that's how we should be talking to their specific customers. So definitely, again, a collaborative effort.
And from our experience with our clients, you would look at a question like that using a combination of how much revenue opportunity or strategic importance does the actual message have, times the number of people that would benefit from the translated version, times the lift that you would get from translating it. So let's talk about an example where it's an airline. Selling airline tickets is absolutely critical, obviously, to that business, and frankly, so is selling the ancillary products that are delivered by the airline itself, such as lounges and bag fees and all of those items. There are additional areas which are profitable but have relatively low uptake. And so that might be a hotel booking that's hosted on the airline website or an travel insurance purchase on the website. So there's not a lot of revenue that comes out of that for the primary language of English. And so if you then take a look at it and say, okay, well, I've got 3 million people that are in English and I've got 400,000 that are in Japanese, then you could look at that and do some back of the envelope calculations on how much money you would get from that effort based upon improved performance by translating it to the local language. And that revenue stream can then be compared to the fixed cost of the translation effort itself, right? And so within our templating system that we've designed, Once you've got that template up and running, adding yet another language adds no marginal cost at all, and indeed no fixed cost. Once you're up and rocking and rolling with that multi-language system, it's free to scale that further, but there is going to be a one-time translation cost, so you'd have to compare that to the value of doing so. The bottom line is that our expectation is that most clients would translate all of their, if you think about a head, body, tail metaphor, they would translate all of their head programs for all of their languages, some of their body programs to other languages, and very few of their tail programs to other languages because there's just not enough incremental revenue to justify the cost.
All right, excellent. That was our last question, so I'm going to go ahead and close. Thank you, Sergio, Danica, and Ted, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar, Marketing and Technology Strategies Transforming Travel. If you have any other questions, please contact marketing@lionbridge.com. Once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a follow-up email within 24 to 48 hours with a link to view a recording of today's webinar. On behalf of Lionbridge, Hawaiian Airlines, Oracle Marketing Cloud, and our presenters, thank you for joining us today and have a great rest of your day.